Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever it is you're watching. Welcome to Maidencast, episode 38. This week we are looking into... I've not got a physical copy of this album, much to my shame, actually. I overlooked it to begin with, but I've been converted this week, so I think that gives a little bit of a spoiler to where this is going. But yes, this week we are doing Primal Rock Rebellion, Awoken Broken. Nearly had a cross thread there. I thought it was Awoken Broken. Yeah, there you go. By Primal Rock Rebellion. The side project of Adrian Smith. This was a collaboration with members of Sikth, most notably the vocalist Mikee Goodmann. But Dan Ford, also of Sikth, did drum on the album, whilst Adrian Smith handled all the guitar, bass, and everything in between.
As he does.
Yeah, certainly.
One of the collaborations that you read about and go, the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, it's like never ever would you have put them two together.
Yeah, the I don't know. We did discuss this a little bit at the end of the last episode, but I don't know if it was while we were recording. I don't know. Sometimes we normally talk afterwards.
Yeah. It wasn't what I thought actually. It was I thought it was they grew up in the fucking in the same area, but apparently it was a friend of the family, Adrian's son Dylan sounds like he's right into his new metal and all that, and he actually asked his dad if Sikth could play his birthday party or something, and Adrian reached out, and that's how it all came about. Bit of a, Dad, I want Sikth to play my party,
Yeah, well, Cher's son hired Cannibal Corpse, didn't he? And yeah, I heard
that would have been interesting, wouldn't it?
There was a thing in Kerrang once where someone he hired out the Barfly and hired Napalm Death to do his birthday party, and I actually got talking to the guy that did it as well a few years ago on Facebook, and he wanted to do it again a few years later, but apparently they didn't do private hires anymore. Yeah, too capitalistic, I suppose. I don't know.
Too big.
Bear with me one sec. Carry on. I'm literally 2 seconds.
Yeah, so while he's faffing around, it's very much a collaboration you wouldn't have would never put any money on actually happening. Obviously, Adrian being where his background and where Mikey comes from, but it just proves the point that Adrian has got his finger on the pulse regarding other styles of metal, other genres, and it's to his credit actually that he's done it, because he didn't have to do it. And for all these side projects, they've been the ones that have been the most varied.
Yeah, I think
Bruce's ones were varied, but it was almost like he was trying to be varied. Whereas I think Adrian's just the case of I'm just going to write a song. Oh, it's come out like Korn. Oh, this one's come out like Bruce Springsteen. I think he's just one of them guys who it's like a melting pot in his head.
Considering it was in 2012, if it came out like 10 years earlier, it probably would have been gone into that new metal bracket. It's an odd collaboration, but I think on the whole it does work.
It does, yeah.
I've not listened to Mikee Goodmann's vocals in a long time. I got into Sikth when they were first coming out. I saw Sikth's original lineup actually when both singers had dreadlocks. I remember they had a different guy come in later, didn't they? The guy with that tight side parting. He did mainly the clean vocals.
Yeah.
Well, when I first saw him, there was two guys, both with dreadlocks, and they were both giving it, the stuff that Mikey done.
Scatting away, yeah.
And they had a cassette for sale on the merch stand. It was Sikth. I remember that day. It was Sikth, PDHM.
Fucking hell.
Bear with me. Definitely PDHM. Vacant Stare headlined. Under them was Lost Prophets, who hadn't had didn't have an album out at that point. Under that was Kilkus. Then it was PDHM. I'm trying to think who else it was, but there was a band called Latch who did they did a split with Stoopy. Yeah, and then it was then I think it was Sikth. There was someone else opening.
That was very much that was a proper Vital show, that was, wasn't it? Because around that time they were the bands that were making moves. The Visible Noise crew, you know, they was all.
But there was a bit of like sampling thing at the beginning of Vacant Stairs set. It was like the best unsigned band in the country, and it was like they didn't get signed for like another year. And then when they put out an album, it was shit. Well, they had that really heavy demo, didn't they? They re-recorded 2 songs off that, but then the rest of it was a complete stylistic change. It was just like
demo was a work of art, mate. I tell you, it was it was brilliant. I mean,
well, the first 2 songs on that demo were re-recorded for the album, which is fair enough. But the other 8 songs were a completely different style. It was like clean singing all the way through it. It was they tried. They did on their debut what they probably should have done on a 3rd album or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
But then again, I suppose they probably waited. I don't know. I didn't wait, but I think by the time they got an album out, their original set they were bored with, I suppose.
Yeah, well,
but that set they did, because I saw that set a couple of times, and it was like, yeah, you pretty much got your album nailed. Just record this. But yeah, Sikth were on that. Lost Prophets aside, Sikth were probably arguably the band that got the biggest out of that particular day of bands that were just selling demos at the time. Kilt's album was out the following week.
Yeah, Kilt's had their time, but unfortunately it didn't work out for them, which was a crying shame, because they were the best band on a fucking bill by a country mile, in my opinion.
PDHM were a great live band, but they just never. They knew how to put on a good show, but I just don't. When it came to recording, they had a couple of demos or an EP out or something, but then that again, it never really went anywhere, did it? But so
I mean, I did I did a couple of shows with the Sikth Boys back in the day of Set in Silence. It was Mikey would never remember me now, but we had a couple of good laughs at the gigs we did. It was all Aaron, our bass player, and soon to be world famous tattooist at Cult Classic Tattoo in Romford. He knew Mikey through someone, and we just all sort of got together, and it was good times. And like I say, a couple of good shows we did with them, and they were crazy motherfuckers on stage. They tore it up big time.
Sikth had an awesome live show, and I remember I got into the singles that they released at the time, and then I got the album, and I don't know, I fizzed away from it at that point. I don't think it was a snobby thing I'd had. I'm still like it now. I always, which is a contradiction really, because I'm doing a podcast on Iron Maiden, but I've always been interested in the climb, and once a band gets to a certain level, I do kind of I'm not that bothered anymore. I wasn't so much, mate.
Maiden are still climbing.
Yeah, there is that.
You know what I mean?
I guess
they don't know.
Maiden weren't my band either. I came in 20 years into the.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I don't know. Once they get to a certain point, I'm just like, well, yeah, okay. They're not. I'm the same with boxers and anything like that, really. I'm always more interested in, right, well, you're good, you're doing well. Who else is, I'm always looking for the something a bit weird and a bit out there, really, and a bit thing. But Sikth were a perfect band for that.
I mean, arguably they helped create the gent movement, I would say.
Definitely, yeah.
Spell that, people who don't know what that is. The most fucking.
It's pretty much a rip-off of Meshuggah the whole time, isn't it? But there was a thing called Mathcore at the time, weren't there, as well, which
Dillinger and all that shit.
Yeah,
and I say shit literally.
Yeah, they were another band as well. After the first album, I weren't that bothered. I saw them at the LA2 twice though, and they were fucking awesome live. And I think the second time I saw them, no, it's the first time I saw them at LA2, the Sikth were one of the opening bands. It was, I want to say Dying Fetus, but it wasn't. It was it Rabies Cast? It might have been Rabies Cast. Then it was Sikth. Then it was Nazem, and I saw the original lineup of Nazem, and they were fucking phenomenal. I'd never heard of them, and it was just like white heat coming off the stage. And for those who don't know, Nazem is one of the grindcore bands and it was grindcore done right, because 90% of grindcore just turns to shit. But in those short songs, it was like a precision, like precise delivery with each song, and there was a cigarette paper between each track as well. Yeah. And the way it was done was just delivered so tight. It was just, you know. And then Dillinger came out, but the thing is, I don't like that particular lineup. I don't think anyone. If you take the last Dillinger Escape Plan album, I think you could count on one hand how many people were on the stage that night to who's in the band now. I think it's one of them. The original lineup
take your word for it, because they, for me, jazz and metal have no place being together whatsoever.
Yeah,
it just kills me, and I lose all interest in freeform. It
won't freeform. No, that first album I think is still pretty good, although I've not heard it in a long time. But there's Singer left, didn't they? And they did an EP with Mike Patton, and then after that they just want it to be Faith No More.
Yeah. It's how crazy it is, because we're on episode 38 of an Iron Maiden podcast, a band who without Genesis and Thin Lizzy wouldn't be about, and we're talking about fucking grindcore and Dillinger Escape Plan and Sugar. That's how fucked up this collaboration is. You're bringing two worlds together that opposite ends.
It was a creative time, though. I mean, not all of it. Some of it has aged better than others, like all things. But I thought that was a good time to be into music. I think it was. There was always something. There was something. Always, people were trying different stuff. A lot of things now. People go, right, what are we going to do? We're going to be a death metal band. Well, a death metal band has to do this. Right, we're going to be a thrash metal band. We're going to do this. They decide pretty early what subgenre they're going to be, and then they act accordingly. Yeah. Back then, people did. They basically just went with what felt natural, and it was down to everyone else to label them. You know, it was, well, these two really like these bands, and these two really like these bands. Mash it together, and you come up with what you came up with. And there was a lot of record labels at the time. So you had the Trustkill Records. You had, is it Hydra Head? I think Equal Vision was another one.
Equal Visions, yeah, I remember them.
Yeah. What was what album here?
Well, Visible Noise were doing it on our side of the water, weren't they? They were responsible for a lot of them bands we mentioned earlier, putting a bit of faith into people who were doing things a bit
Hydra
different.
Head, I think, there's a title of one of the record labels. They put out weird, like really cool stuff, like sort of more on the proggier side of what was going on then. Cave In, Jupiter was like a big seller by them. Then you had, bands like Converge and so Mikey, let's discuss Mikey's vocals then, because the guy, he's very talented. He's got 100 different voices and he uses them all.
He's like a bag full of cats, isn't he? And that's, I mean that with total respect for the guy, because he's got a range that is fucking ridiculous. He can sing like an angelic angel sort of thing. And then the next minute, it's like Jonathan Davis is having a fight with the Tasmanian devil.
Yeah,
and anything and everything in between. The guy is he's a maniac, and I mean that in totally respectful way.
He's known to do spoken word as well. I mean, I think he would have, had a good go.
Yeah,
at doing voices for just being a voice actor.
Yeah,
reading audio books or doing voices for animation and things like that. I mean, that guy that does all the voices for Gollum and whatnot, I think he would.
Yeah.
And I'm serious. I think he would.
Oh no, he's got the range. Not many people have got it to be able to do that, and he's one of
them. I think Sikth, though, especially I think when the second album came out, it did become a bit of an over-egg pudding at times. I do think it was a bit overly technical, and sometimes it was a bit, let's do it for the sake of it. I don't think
that's
really.
That's what annoys me about that style of metal. It's a case of, oh, look at me, and it's like, no, just don't.
Yeah.
Just play what the song designs.
With it as well, I think Mikey could be a little too scatty at times, so it could be a bit off-putting. But he is still crazy on this album.
Yeah,
but it is kind of reined in a little bit, and I think for the better. And if you take like a vocalist like Serge Tankian from System of a Down, another guy who uses like a different load of voices and styles and crams it all into one song. Mikey's nowhere near as annoying as Serge Tankian.
Yeah.
Because I can't listen to System of a Down nowadays. It just annoys me. And I think System of a Down actually have some really good music, but him giving it,
but no,
la 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 over the top of it, and it's just like you've just killed a really good riff there, right? And but Mikey doesn't seem to do that. He kind of, I think that's a good contrast. Like if he was comparing him to another vocalist, but nothing Mikey does. His vocals have aged a lot better. That's what I'm saying, and it works very well on this album. I want to ask you a question later on, maybe have a little debate, but I think it's fair. It's fair if we review the album first. It's just a little in a parallel universe what if question.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I'd rather do that as an after.
All right, yeah, cool. Let's get through then.
Anything else you want to add before diving in?
No, it's I think we've covered it pretty well. I mean, it's as I say, I think we've covered what people need to know. I mean, obviously we talked all about Mike here. You know, we don't need to talk about Adrian, as everyone who loves Maiden will know what Adrian brings to the table, and he brings it here in traditional Adrian Smith style, but he does throw in a few things to make you go. But credit the guy, he's expanded his mind, or perhaps he's always had his mind expanded. So
I think he was obviously writing different things, and right, this can go to Maiden, but what do I do with the rest of this? And we know off that opening section of Final Frontier at the opening of the album.
Yeah,
that was all something that he had himself.
Yeah, he's all very.
That music would have fit on this album easily. So maybe that was a little idea of, you know, this is something
perhaps,
to come.
Obviously, it's only 2 years later.
Yeah, and well, as we know, you don't know when it was recorded or when.
No, I read an interview saying they were doing it as and when. They said it's like the most chilled time any of them have ever had recording. It's just a case of I'm off tour. This Adrian's right, Mikey, right, studio, whatever, or they record stuff, you know, digitally and send it off and all the rest of it, and Dan will play drums over it, and it said it just happened over a period of time. Yeah.
So, right, opening track, No Friendly Neighbor. You've got a nice thick riff, really. That
very new metal, isn't it? It's
and then the Mikey's doing his little spoken build up.
Yeah, I mean it is a drum intro as well. I mean it's like a drum machine. Obviously it's Lord, I'd imagine it being sampled and then put through a drum machine.
A bit of a hip hop beat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's everything. It's new metal. Is the only way I can describe it. This is like fucking anyone who checked this out because they love Adrian and love Adrian through Maiden, they'd be listening to this going, fucking hell, what's going on here? Because you've only got to read the Iron Maiden forum to know that a lot of them, and not all of them, a lot of Maiden fans don't appreciate modern metal.
Nah.
You know, so this would have been like, I'd imagine most people would have been lobbing the CD at the wall.
Yeah.
But that's the reaction you want. If you're not making people angry or whatever, or you're not provoking that sort of response, it's what you're even doing. You know, if you want to push boundaries,
like I say, I don't know if I've said it to you before, but I don't know if I said it on this show. But being able to react to music is paramount, and one of the hardest things when you're writing reviews, you know, if you're writing for a magazine or whatever, you have to wait for a lot of stuff, and especially when you're right. I know there's a good album coming up from this label, so I'm going to have to get good. So I'm going to review this and review that and interview these people. Writing a good review, like an album you really like, is obviously fun and really great, and that's why you get into it. And writing a shit review can be fun, but it's not something I don't particularly enjoy doing.
No one likes kicking a band, do they?
I don't mind a band like Metallica, for example, because my shitty review is not going to affect them. But
you could be the band, you could be the reviewer that takes down an unsigned band, and
but
it's like,
but even if something's shit and you don't like it and you have like a rant about it, you've still got a reaction. What you get is 10 albums that there's absolutely nothing wrong with, but nothing particularly great about either.
Yeah.
And you don't want to knock them because there's nothing exactly wrong with it, but you just, as soon as this review's finished, I'm never going to listen to this album again. But that's not fair. You want to give them a fair review, so you kind of, it just becomes torturous after a while. So even if you hate an album, that album still made you react. That's a point to take home.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I love how this opening track builds up. It just, it just unfolds as the song goes on. Different layers are added in. It kicks into that bouncy sort of rhythm. Mikey's screaming in that sort of singing and screaming kind of way. It does remind me a little bit of In Flames. But towards the end of the song, this little clean melody just comes in.
Yeah, that's fucking brilliant. With the orchestra kicks in as well.
Yeah, with the orchestra backing it, and it just cuts through everything.
Yeah.
To go, don't forget, this is Adrian Smith playing.
Yeah,
and that's what Adrian Smith's
just
great
a reminder,
at. He's great at just getting that ray of light through it.
Yeah.
Just cutting everything up, And yeah, what a really good way to open the album. And it's a great, and I say it's a great way to open an album because it gives you an idea of what's to come, but it doesn't actually reveal anything either. It's still, you're left sort of, right, okay, so this is the guy from Sikth. Cool, they're a bit mad. Yeah, oh, what, the guy from Iron Maiden, he's known for doing really melodic stuff. What they're doing? Yeah. Okay, all right, stick this on, see what this is about. And at the end of this song, you're still none the wiser. It sounds exactly, yet nothing.
I think it's the song, like you say, it does let you know what you're in for without sort of giving too much away. But unfortunately, it does fall into the usual sort of nu metal trap of it at nearly 5 minutes. It's way too long because that style of song, that was never about writing long songs, and because it's very much, nu metal very much relies on repetitive, using the riff, the chorus. There's no bridges, there's no interludes, there's none of that, and it's a bit long at 5 minutes because you're getting the same riff over and over and over again. So I think it falls down there. You could trim a minute off this, and it wouldn't be missed because there's nothing new. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They just recycle the same riffs from the song. They don't put in any extra bit aside from that bit at the end, which we love. Which I wouldn't trade that off for anything. But you could get rid of some of it and not miss it, trim the fat.
Don't forget the introduction take, the song takes a while to get to where it's going, doesn't it?
But even over that, Adrian's he plays that riff, and that riff doesn't really change throughout the song. It's a good riff, but it's as I say, there's a reason nu metal bands didn't write epics. Because the style of the music of the style of the genre doesn't lend itself to long tunes, and I think that's why track 2, No Place Like Home, which was the single, is so fucking good. What a song! I've had this on repeat. Fucking first time I've ever heard it was doing the review for this, because like I said, I never heard this. When it came out, I was a bit, do I really want to go anywhere near that? And that, and that's my bad. And to my, I should have given them a chance, because
I don't think this was a very good single. I wouldn't have released this one first, in all fairness.
Fucking hell, I would have put this out all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is, for me, you've always got to punch. If you're dropping an album on someone, boom, hit them with your fucking best shot. Don't hit them with something subpar. Yeah. This is the best song on the album, and it's the most different song on the album as well, because it's we talked about nu metal, but this sounds like fucking Faith No More and the Red Hot Chili Peppers had a baby.
Demonic baby.
Yeah, because it's got that crazy sort of Mike Patton, Faith No More, main riff and all the rest of it, and then when the chorus kicks in, all I can think of is the Chili's. And then you still got time. You still got Adrian soloing over the end, and it still brings Maiden to it. But this is such a great song. I cannot emphasise how good this is. I mean, fucking what a tune! And if they'd have led with this album would have taken off. I think. Whether they wanted it to or not.
I don't think the album particularly failed. It came out, a few videos were released, and that was it. I don't remember ever seeing them gig. I'm sure I would have gone. I think that would have been another reason why I never bought the album. I watched the video for No Place at Home, and okay, and then that was it. I didn't think anything more of it. But I'm sure if there was a tour and a bit more promotion behind it, I would have been swept up along,
Yeah. Yeah,
because Steve Harris released British Lion the same year, and he went on. He did a full tour, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But so, but Adrian likes fishing. Adrian's like, you know what? I'm off tour. I'm fishing, as we now know from his book and all the rest of it. Whereas Steve must sit home and go, "Fucking hell, I want to play."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Right, I've got to get out there."
Yeah.
So that's the difference between the two sort of thing.
Yeah, but
and I think possibly Adrian got the fucking pox of the constant touring. That's probably why he left Maiden in the first place. And now he's found the time to do the music.
Yeah.
And still have his life outside of it.
But this style of music, the best way to promote it is to play live because people want to see that.
Yeah, of course they do. Yeah.
See it on a stage, and sorry, I got itch in my throat. I don't know how well this sold. I don't know, but I'm guessing it would have sold as well as any album when no one that didn't get gigged.
Yeah, of course it would. Yeah,
it would for who was involved and for thing.
Would have been word of mouth.
I don't think it would have gone. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think we're off to a good start. We've got a cool introduction track that sort of sets the tone and, shows a few different tricks, but never fully reveals everything. You've got No Place at Home, which I think matches the artwork quite well, actually, because again, it's got that roller coaster sort of thing. We're going through a tunnel and this could go off the rails any minute, sort of thing. Yeah. Like a chase in a film.
This song barely feels contained.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking hell, like you say, the roller coaster analogy is pretty good because any minute you're like, whoa, go on. But for 3 minutes, it just fucking flies by. And it's a fantastic song. And it's the sort of thing that Adrian writes. It's a catchy, fucking brilliant hit single. Mm. And even though it's a different genre, it would have still smashed, a chart or whatever if it had been released with the full weight of a record label. It would have fucking hell. It would have gone crazy, I think.
I See Lights. This is I mean, if you want to talk about Faith No More, this song has got some Faith No More.
See, all I could hear was Korn with this.
Well,
mind you,
yeah. But this reminds me of a Faith No More album track. That's really where the gold is when it comes to Faith No More. They could do a catchy single. Whether you liked it or hated it, you remembered it. But they're real, the good stuff was on the albums. It was the deep cuts. And they're pretty good with it as well because they know throw a rare one out. Give the fans a bone that way. Did you know? But yeah, this is a bit of a basic track, really. I mean, I think this is where Mikey shines because he takes a very sort of basic music track, but because
and then he gets busy over it, doesn't he? Yeah,
there's a bit as well. I think it's this song. Yes, there's a little melody. So he sort of goes, when you shine your light, something. It's just this line that just goes in the background. It's like a passing voice and the thing. But that reminded me of Maynard James Keenan.
Yeah, I see that. That's Adrian, isn't it? Adrian.
I was Adrian. I thought, that was the thing as well. There were parts where I did think, is this Adrian singing now? But then I thought,
I think the line you're talking about, because I've made a note saying it's on the pre-chorus, I think it is.
Yeah.
You can hear Adrian doing his Springsteen-esque.
There's a line in the first song as well where I did think, is that Adrian there? But Mikey comes in pretty quick, and I just thought,
no, I thought that. I know that line as well. I think that was Mikey on that, but this is actually Adrian complimenting and just underneath letting Mike do his thing, and it works really well.
But yeah, I mean, it was an atmospheric song. It's quite slow and building up, but I think it suits the pace of the album anyway.
Yeah, and it's another very now song, isn't it? Or now, let's say like 2012. That, or like you say, it's even late, really, when you think about it, because obviously nu metal had its time by then, but it's just putting it in there and. But no, I mean no, like I say, we're going along nicely.
Yeah, bright as a fire and wild as a what was it? What was the line? Bollocks. Bright as a fire and wild as the sea, something like that. This is a cool song, actually. I think it's got a really cool atmospheric chorus on this one.
Oh, the chorus! The chorus reminded me of Lacuna Coil.
Yeah.
What the male? I can't think of the guy's name. The male singer. What the sort of vibe and melody he brings to Lacuna Coil. All I could hear was him. And that's, again, another string to Mikey's bow, because he just fucking sounds like everyone.
Yeah, not blistering solo at the end of this one as well.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's almost like a metalcore riff at the end, where Dan's doing a gallop on the double kicks, and then, like you say, Adrian rips into a savage solo, and then it kicks into a section that reminded me of Psycho Motel.
Well, stands to reasons,
Definitely fucking, there's all sorts of stuff going on. It really is a melting pot of everything that Adrian likes musically, I think, and fucking hell, it's working.
Yeah, so we pick up the pace now with Savage World. A melodic song. Still got that sort of dark heaviness that goes.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely.
The whole album, really. But,
Dan takes over this song. It's the first song he's really had a chance to shine on. Don't get me wrong, he's played well on the first 4 tracks, but this is the one where he's like, "Hold on, lads, I'm gonna have a go here," and he shows what he's capable of, and he puts on a quality display in this track particularly.
It's a good little double pedal under the chorus, it's just just carries the song nicely.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, he anchors it really, and it's about time a drummer had a chance to shine.
Yeah, so then we got Tortured Tone, which quite stripped down to begin with. You've got like a little programmed drum beat.
Yeah, sort of like a faux orchestral intro, isn't it? And Mikey's putting double duty on vocals. And then when it kicks in, it's like fucking 80s synth meets melodic metal.
Yeah,
it's like, what?
Yeah, like
crazy.
A ballad, if anything.
Yeah, and it's a weird combination, but it works. And
and I think this is the stuff really where this album shines.
Oh yes,
it's just who else? Like when you go, why would Adrian want have anything to do with Mikey from Sikth? It's like, but songs like this, no one else could have.
No, that's it. This where it all clicks together right now. Yeah,
it's like only Mikey could have sung on this stuff because it's just the music is quite odd in itself.
And their voices complement each other as well. When Mikey when he sings instead of doing his crazy shit, his voice complements Adrian's really well. Yeah,
no, I think this is a really cool song, and I think one of the highlights for me, definitely. So we're flying through this one.
Yeah, we are. I mean, that's the thing. There's not a lot to really. It's the songs. They sort of take care of themselves, really, don't they? There's nothing that really lends.
The album does flow very nicely.
It does, yeah.
It's an effortless listen. It's one of those albums that just plays itself, and because it is just so weird.
Yeah,
you just constantly well, that's interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
All right. Like,
I mean, normally
it strings you along all the way through. Going, it's all right. We've got more to show you yet. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, not normally on Maidencast, we're either deeply analysing the Maiden tracks because most of them are fucking so in depth and you've got to pull them apart and all the rest of it, or we've got Diano where we're giving him a kick in, which we don't really like to do because it's a row. But this is the first side project where it's really just it's just gone through, isn't it? There's nothing to really bitch about. There's nothing to get really crazy about, but it's just a solid album so far.
Yeah. So White Sheet Robes is another, sort of slower mid-paced song, but it goes through a couple of different stages.
Yeah,
and again, it's all about atmosphere building as well.
This is the first track that didn't really speak to me of the 7 so far. It's the first time where I've gone, do I skip? No, I'll let it go, sort of thing. But it's just, I think it's probably because it's a more straightforward track.
Yeah.
And there's where the others it's been jumping about and different things going on. This is a bit more straightforward, and the chorus didn't do me a lot of favours, and it's the one time on the album where Mikey's voice sort of works against him. It's where being Mikey didn't help.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense. I think people will have to listen to it to try and hopefully understand what I'm meaning. But this was the first track. Well, I mean, 7 tracks in. Fucking hell, it's about time we had a lull. And unfortunately, it's this one. For me, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No, fair enough. So next up, we've got a little intro track, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, again,
seconds of
you've just got some
insanity.
guitar licks in the background, nice sort of thing, and this is where Mikey does like a bit of spoken word, bit of poetry. He did do this on the. I remember the closing track on the first album was that it was a poem where he basically just uses loads of different voices and does like this spoken word narrative. It was a cool little concept as well, as basically the trees are aware and are planning to get rid of the humans, basically, which was a cool little concept. Yeah. I've read a science fiction thing once as well, where basically they say that all the plants are aware and they do communicate with each other, and they go, right, we need to get rid of these. How are we going to purge? And they just start releasing more and more pollen. So what starts as hay fever going around just gets worse and worse with every year. And then, bit by bit starts culling. Yeah. Put it this way: if they are aware and do decide, we are well and truly fucked.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But, and on this track as well, I guarantee that this is the only time you'll hear the word blue tit in any metal song ever, in reference to the bird. If you can find it mentioned in any other metal song ever recorded, please let us know. I'll sort you out a prize.
Yeah. So that leads into the title track.
This was for me. This was Psycho Motel with Mikey on vocals.
Yeah.
It was a proper throwback to where Adrian sort of come from on solo stuff.
Rocking, good, like just a straightforward classic rock riff, really.
Yeah, it is. There's no new metal.
Just a nice simple drum beat as well. I say simple drum beat.
No disrespect to that.
Does.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's it. But he's a drummer he's a sort of drummer I like. He knows when to play and when to fucking show off. But conversely, he knows when, right, I'll just let the riff breathe here. And this is a track, and I love drummers like that. Drummers who don't have to fucking show they can play every single second of every single track. But then he knows what he's doing, and he lets the riff breathe when it needs to breathe, and it works well on this track.
Yeah, again, it goes through a few different odd sections as well, doesn't it? But Mikey just sort of ties it all together with all these different, he could do something different for every style and different section. Another cool, catchy chorus, though. There's one thing as well with him. Again, you didn't really get it much in Sikth.
Well, no, I read on there's an interview on, I think it's on the actual Primal Rock Rebellion website. They've got all the songs up to download and all that. But he actually says, Adrian taught me so much about choruses.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with that style of music that Mikey was doing. And often I found when we, in my band, Set in Silence, when we was trying to do this style of
they would never have any
pre-metalcore.
Yeah, nothing ever repeated.
No, there was no choruses weren't a thing. It was a case of let's get the riffs in now, let's get the sections, and they'll just go along. And you might come back to one later on, but more often than not, you didn't. And that's the basic fundamentals of songs is chorus. You've got to have something that's going to hook the listener in. And he said, Adrian taught me so much about choruses. And fucking hell, if anyone can write a chorus, it's Adrian Smith. He's proved it time and time again, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's basic essence of the story is what rock and roll's based on, really. It's you take the original Beatles back catalogue. It was all just choruses. Even if you don't like them, you know them.
Yeah, you know them. Yeah, they stick in your head.
Yeah, I think it was a phase that musicians went through. They just went, well, we're not working on that template anymore. We're going to build our own template, and well, they all failed.
Yeah, that's it. You know, it was along the same time that they decided to get rid of solos as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I told you can chart it because it all started around the time Bruce left Maiden. Oh, no solos, no choruses. And then when Bruce came back, oh, let's do some solos, let's have some choruses. It was that like that. You can fucking chart it pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird time, wasn't it? I mean, I remember it was around that time when the metalcore was starting.
Yeah.
Well, it was the new wave of American heavy metal at the time, wasn't it? I mean,
that's when
the first notable band I think was Shadows Fall.
Yeah.
Where they were taking that sort of metal hard, like the hardcore show and the metal thing, but they were taking that thrash metal, that classic thrash metal template. And well, there's a reason that band have split. And they got snapped up by Overkill.
Yeah,
and
all their other fucking members, you know, Anthrax took the fucking took John and the guitarist, and obviously Overkill grabbed hold of Jason.
Yeah,
because they're phenomenal musicians.
Yeah, but they with what they know what they were playing as well.
That's exactly that's what I mean. You know, they got their heads in the right thing, mate. And telling you all you need to know about the solos, if you know that time being that time, there's a Metallica album in that time that didn't have no solos on it because because Kurt was told to take them off. That tells you all you need to know. Obviously, some anger. That was at the end of that time, but it was a weird time. If Metallica ain't doing solos, you know, something's wrong. But when Maiden got big again, solos came back.
Yeah. Right. Moving on to Search for Bliss. This is another highlight for me.
Yeah, it's good fast pace, isn't it? Upbeat. It's less frantic, but it's still got a good sort of vibe going through it.
Well, it's just a straightforward, like we were just saying a second ago. This is just a straightforward rock song.
Yeah. It's a fabulous chorus, and
Mikey's got brilliant hooks with he does that segue into the chorus. That's how you and then you got that lovely beautiful little riff. That well, it's a solo. Well, it's not a solo, is it? It's more like a lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's when the chorus comes in. It's just really hooky and just really memorable. And
it's Adrian Smith all over. It's we're sort of going from, we started off new metal and we're sort of slowly getting towards what Adrian's known for. And it's sort of a weird sort of a journey through the album sort of thing. We started off crazy and now we're getting more, you know, but
it gets more sane, is it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. But it's what, you know, this is what people who like Adrian Smith will want him to do. Whereas the thing is, where the first part of the album was pretty much where me and you came from, wasn't it? It was around that time we were getting into the journey, and it was quite mad actually being on Maidencast talking about, you know, new metal and talking about double kick drums and all the rest of it. And it's very much a musical journey. We started off currently, now we're sort of going back as far as the album goes on. We're slowly going back and back in time.
Yeah. Right, so Snake Ladders. This is another cool song. I mean,
Sabbath intro for me.
Yeah, I'll get a bit of Sabbath. I
get a bit of Alice in Chains on the chorus as well.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. The way the song sort of it just slowly builds up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the Alice in Chains used to take a Sabbath riff, but just stretch it right out.
If you're talking about Sabbath and you're talking about Alice in Chains, you're talking about the same journey, aren't you? Just further down the road, like.
But yeah, I feel, you know, there's a bit of Corrosion of Conformity maybe as well. I mean, Corrosion of Conformity have gone through a lot of phases, haven't they?
You compare Vote with a Bullet to Albatross.
Yeah,
you know, totally different.
We go from hardcore punk one end to like Southern blues the other, but yeah, you get that feeling, don't you? It's a bit of Sabbath, a bit of Alice in Chains, Corrosion of Conformity, that very 90s alternative as it was known at the time. This is just a song that just it crawls, doesn't it? It's
Yes, that's a great way to describe it. It crawls, and that's very much what those bands did. They crawled through the sludge almost.
Yeah,
and dragged you with them.
But again, it comes to that chorus, and even the chorus, you know, it's got that. It does have a very grungy feel to it, doesn't it? The way the vocals, when Adrian comes in with the backing vocals, you come so high, you know, and you know, there's. I mean, yeah, you mentioned Psycho Motel earlier. I mean, this definitely, I think, wouldn't have sounded out of place on a Psycho Motel album.
And you know, because even those both of those albums from that band were totally different.
Mm.
You know, it was a case of, you know, much to, like you say, the first album is sort of a Zeppelin vibe going through it, and then the second album is very much sort of a bang up to date, sort of grungy-esque.
I think as well. I think this would have been great on a soundtrack as well. Back when you had like soundtracks, as albums,
don't exist anymore, do they?
No, but around that time, like, if you took like a John Carpenter film, or maybe even a Rob Zombie film, or Robert Rodriguez, you know, like say from Dusk Till Dawn, you know, something in a desert where there's fires everywhere and everything's mad, and there's, you know. And you have a cool soundtrack. You got a hero that's in leather, snake boots, and lighting a cigarette. You know and he's this bad motherfucker who knows how to hunt demons. And
that's it.
No,
it would have been cool.
Yeah, that's the atmosphere I get from this song. It's like a cool soundtrack song.
Yeah, big time.
And then we go get another complete left turn.
That's it. Yeah, like she's like, you know what you've heard for the last sort of 50 minutes. Well, forget it.
Yeah,
we're here now, and it's just fucking completely chilled, mellow.
And you know that mad bloke with the dreadlocks, who's, you know, coming out with a load of different voices, screaming into different mics. His dreadlocks are going and flying around everywhere. That nutty bastard. Yeah, this is him.
This is him. Yeah.
And he does a great vocal on it. Just shows completely the other side of him.
It's crazy, isn't it? It just shows the range he's got, and the range that Adrian's got, because we started out like nu metal and fucking drum samples and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And now we've gone down to this where you can just fucking light one up and just chill. Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's got that very coastal feel to it. Beautiful guitars. You've got the melodies in the background as well. And yeah, this could be played around a campfire. It could be played in not in a pub, but in an inn, I was going to say, in some little village, you know.
Yeah, an in jukebox, like, it would have, and people would be like, "Oh, this is really good."
But it could have been on any classic rock album that you would care to, you know, like a Thin Lizzy song or a Marillion or someone like that.
Yeah,
this would have fit any of those sort of bands, you know. This easily could be played on in one of the mellower hours of Planet Rock or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big time. And it's you know, and just like that, 50 odd minutes has sort of flown by. There's a couple of songs that might think, oh, should I skip that? But nothing that's really hideous.
Yeah, I think
there's no quest for fire on here, ladies and gentlemen.
I do think as well, this is an album where we do these reviews, where we do it individually, song by song. It's quite hard to pick out individual tracks, or it's a bit odd to review it track by track, because this works nicely as an album. You've got to sit this as one. This works as one conducive piece of work rather than.
I mean, for me, you've got the obvious single that I talked about earlier, like that I loved. Fucking can't think it's fucking cold.
No Place Like Home.
Sorry, No Place Like Home. Sorry, yeah, Jesus, I'm talking about it half hour ago. But yeah, you've got that for me, which is an obvious hit single. But that doesn't really represent the rest of the album, because there's such a journey from 1 to 12. That would work as a hit single because it's got everything that a hit single would have. But
yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, the catchy chorus, the fast-paced craziness, and all the rest of it. Everything that would, like, especially if you're talking metal clubs back in the fucking early part of the century.
Yeah, I mean, where metal clubs,
the dance floor would be like maggots on a dead dog. It would be pits going crazy.
Yeah, it would though if it was played on MTV or Kerrang TV or something during, you know, because those songs where everything just filled up. That was what was. Yeah. That would always fill the dance floor, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be.
But it also works.
The potential is there, though, definitely.
It also works as part of the ensemble, like you say. It slots in nicely.
Mm.
You know, and it's an album, like you say, it's an effortless listen, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
And I was quite surprised, and I was quite pissed off with myself that it's taken me nearly 10 years to listen to it. Yeah,
well, like I say, it kind of just came and then went. There was never any follow up to it, and there was no real. It was one of those. Oh, I'll get round to it eventually. I mean, I don't think I ever saw it in a record shop.
Oh no, fuck that little.
And there was just nothing to. As soon as it was out, it was you heard nothing more. Like I say,
Yeah.
When British Lion did a tour together, why couldn't Primal Rebellion do it with them?
Yeah.
They would have sold.
But again, I think it was a case of Adrian's like, no, you know what? I'm going to cast a line here.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a rest. I'll put that out. I'm going to chill. And that's probably how he's managed to stay in the music business so long, because he knows how to separate.
Knows when to have some time off. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So he don't burn out. But
right.
Great solid album. 7 out of 10 for me. Yes. It's something that needs to be listened. Needs to be heard.
Yeah,
and if
definitely.
you can find it, it's on Spotify and all the good streamers.
Hopefully hopefully this will make you, if this album's passed you by, encourage you to dig it out and give it a go. It's definitely
well worth a listen. For fans of all genres of metal and rock, I think there's something.
I managed to find a copy as well for $5. I think my son would really like this as well, because he's a fan of In Flames. So yeah, I think this is up his street. I think he'd like this, so I'll end up getting a copy as well. So yeah, it's a 7 out of 10 for me as well. I enjoyed it. It's the first album of the show really where I've gone in blind the way you have.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean you've had advantages over me, because you've heard a lot, especially the Blaze stuff. But this was we were both coming in fresh here, weren't we?
Yeah.
And it's proved it's been an effortless listen, because it's been an effortless podcast.
Yeah.
We haven't been to and fro on bits we haven't agreed with or whatever. It's just been a case of it's here. It's just listen to it, and it was great. Right.
So before we go, I just want to give you a what if scenario.
Oh yeah, go on. You talking about it.
So take Mikee's unique vocals out of this, and just, if you can, just cast your mind purely to the music. Do you think with what Bruce did on, what was the album called? Tyranny of Souls, if he had heard this music and combined it with what he was writing, so if he took like 5 songs off of Tyranny of Souls, 5 songs off this, would we have got a better follow-up to Chemical Wedding? There is even one song, I think it is on No Place Like Home actually, where there's a whoa backing vocal, and I thought, oh, I can hear Bruce. There was parts where I thought, yeah, I was curious to see what Bruce would have done.
I don't know.
And not taken away from Mikee.
No. Yeah. I see what you're saying, but obviously we did have that question about Tyranny of Souls when we reviewed it, didn't we? It was a case of it wasn't.
No, he more than did his job on this album, and it's fantastic. It's just a what if for the sake of the podcast and everything else we're reviewing for the show.
No, I think they're two completely different styles. Obviously, because the Tribe of Gypsies boys, and Roy Z in particular, they very much. I don't think it would have worked. I think they're too different to be able to.
No, I think it would have been right. The songwriting credits: Dickinson, Roy Z, then Dickinson Smith. It wouldn't have been 3 together. You would have had to. It would have been separate.
Yeah, but I think that the styles that what Roy Z was writing and what Adrian was writing, I think they're too different to go on the same album. I think it would have been a case of it sounds like 2 EPs stuck together. It wouldn't have flowed, because it wouldn't have flowed like this. And this is a better album than Tyranny of Souls.
There's nearly a 10-year gap between the two as well, so it's not as if.
And I appreciate, obviously, like I said, they're different styles of metal, but as far as consistency goes, Tyranny of Souls, sometimes it was a skip-a-thon. Purely because it come after Chemical Wedding. I mean, that's an hard act to follow.
Yeah.
And Bruce, it sounded very much like Roy phoned Bruce up and went, I've got some riffs. Oh yeah, whack me over, I'll stick some vocals on and done. Whereas Primal Rock Rebellion was a case of we were doing this over a period of fucking 10 years. Just when we could get together and all the rest of it. It was, things would have morphed and evolved over that time. And I think it's a lot of the stuff that Adrian would have had under his act for a while.
Yeah.
So, in answer to that, I don't think it would have worked. Would have been interesting, but I think it would have been a failure.
Yeah. Right. Okay. With that little what if question out of the way. thank you all for watching. If you've made it to the end of the show, all we ask is just give us one of them, or one of them, up to you. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you feel like you want to, and yeah, share it around with your mates. Tell your mates. Next time you're having an argument with someone about Maiden, you want to hear, you want to listen to Maidencast. And yeah, I don't like telling people that because I think you know by now, but apparently it's paramount. You've got to tell them. And you've always got to tell them at the beginning, but I won't do that to you. I'll do it now at the end, so you can skip it if you like. But yeah, if this is your first show, this is what we do I say each week. We're doing them a bit more rapid now.
Yeah, Maiden fucked us up with their announcement, didn't they?
But we what we do, we are going through the entire Iron Maiden back catalogue, and they've one album at a time. Each episode is a new album, and along the way, we are covering every solo album and side project on the way in order as everything was released. So this was released in 2012. And next up, we have the other album that came out in 2012, Steve Harris's solo band, and this is his first album, British Lion. So that's coming up next. Until then, see you later. Thanks very much for watching. Ta-da.
Laters.